Welcome to the preliminary Biennial Plan public meeting on March 13th, 2025 for the East Central Regional Arts Council. We'll be covering programming for fiscal years 2026 to 2027. Thank you for joining us. First, I'm going to go over a little bit about Minnesota's arts funding system, and then a little bit about the Regional Arts Council system in Minnesota, and then we'll get to the specifics of the East Central Regional Arts Council. Minnesota's arts funding system can best be understood in terms of the different levels of government funding support for the arts, all the way from the national down to our regional levels. The National Endowment for the Arts gives federal funds to every state. We also have multi-state funding. In our area, this is called Arts Midwest. Their main office is in Minneapolis, and they cover a number of the Midwest states. Next, there's the Minnesota State Arts Board, covering all of Minnesota. And then there are the multi-county regions. There are 11 regional arts councils in Minnesota. The 11 regional arts councils cover the entire state of Minnesota, starting in the northwest corner of Minnesota with Region 1, and going all the way down to the southeast corner, which is Region 10. The metro region is called Region 11, and we are just north of that in Region 7E. The 11 regional arts councils come together as the Regional Arts Council Forum of Minnesota, which is a voice for the arts in Minnesota. Each of the 11 Minnesota Regional Arts Councils has an executive director, and together those executive directors comprise the voting membership of the forum. The mission is that throughout Minnesota, the forum will provide a strong voice and advocacy for small arts organizations and community-based arts-related activities. The Forum of Regional Arts Councils has various activities with our partners, and we all serve the state of Minnesota together. First, there's the Minnesota Citizens for the Arts. That is a 30-member board of directors. There's a representative on the MCA board from each region in Minnesota. There's an Arts Advocacy Day or week each spring at the state capitol. It's really important to let our legislators know the work we're doing and how the taxpayers' funds are being invested across the state. Then there's the McKnight Foundation. The McKnight Foundation has a friendly, long-term relationship with regional arts councils in order to serve artists in Minnesota. The Forum of Regional Arts Councils of Minnesota can apply for funding for both the forum and its specific projects, and the individual regional arts councils all apply for funding to the McKnight Foundation to fund individual artists in our areas. We also work with the Minnesota State Arts Board. We are partners with the Minnesota State Arts Board, but we're not part of the Minnesota State Arts Board. We do have a fiscal agent contract with the Minnesota State Arts Board, so they are the Regional Arts Council's fiscal sponsor. We work together on outcome evaluation. We work together on data collection and telling the stories, the art stories around the state and how the arts have impacted people and communities. We've also worked together on our misuse of funds policy. In law, Minnesota state law, the regional arts councils are required to create and submit a biennial plan in the spring of odd-numbered years to the Minnesota State Arts Board. Components of the plan are clearly outlined in rules, legislative rules. The State Arts Board provides a checklist and a budget template. The Minnesota State Arts Board has an official standing committee called the Arts Advisory Committee. It includes 2 Regional Arts Council directors and 1 Regional Arts Council appointed member, and then 2 Minnesota State Arts Board members and 1 Minnesota State Arts Board appointed member at large. The main task of this advisory committee is to review all 11 biennial plans, approve them, provide comments and potential suggestions, and this happens during the spring of the odd years. Today, during this public meeting, we are reviewing the components of the East Central Regional Arts Council Biennial Plan for fiscal years 2026 to 2027. First, I'd like to mention the mission statement of the Regional Arts Council, and that is to support the arts and to bring the life-enhancing values they afford to Region 7E residents. The East Central Regional Arts Council, affectionately known as ECRAC, is Region 7E in Minnesota, as I mentioned earlier. 7E is the highlighted counties here, highlighted in green: Chisago, Isanti, Kanabec, Mille Lacs, and Pine counties in east central Minnesota. I would like to take a moment to talk a little bit about the latest demographic information on Region 7E. Region 7E in 2023, which is our latest numbers, was home to 175,943 people. That comprised 3% of the state of Minnesota's total population. The region saw a 4% population increase in 2023 since 2020, which made it the 8th largest of the 13 economic development regions in the state, and the 2nd fastest growing of the economic development regions. In comparison, the state of Minnesota only saw a 0.6% gain in population from 2020 to 2023, as you can see in this table. Chisago County is the largest county in Region 7E. It's the 18th largest county of 87 in the state of Minnesota, with over 58,500 people in 2023. It added 1,914 people, a 3.4% increase, which was the 11th fastest growth rate. Isanti County experienced the fastest growth rate in the region, with an increase of 2,047 people, and now has over 43,000 people residing there. The next largest county is Pine County with 30,197 people, and they had a growth rate of 4.6%, while Mille Lacs County increased in population by 3.7% and now, or as of 2023, has 27,427 people. Kanabec County has the smallest population in the region with 16,602 people. It's the 52nd largest county in the state. That's of 87 counties. This table highlights the components of the population changes. With an aging population, Region 7E did experience a natural decrease, which means there were more deaths than births, and that was a decrease of 406 people from 2020 to 2023. However, the region gained substantial population of 7,234 in this time period because of migration into the region. In other words, people moved into the area. There was some international migration from 2020 to 2023, and that was 130 people. Historically, in the census, we find that these newer immigrants have been from Asia, Central and South America, and Europe. So these are the newest people moving here from other countries. However, the vast majority of those people moving into Region 7E from 2020 to 2023 were from other parts of Minnesota or the United States. And that was 7,104 people moving in. Population by age group. Region 7E has a slightly older population than the rest of the state, with 18% of residents aged 65 years and over. That's compared to 16.5% statewide. In addition, Region 7E had a higher percentage of people in the 45 to 64-year-old age group, and consequently had a lower percentage of people in the 25 to 44-year-old age group. And those are typically the leading edge of what is known as the prime working years. A large portion of the area's population is part of the baby boom generation, which is creating a significant shift in regional demographics over time. Between 2000 and 2023, the 55 years or older group added more than 28,000 residents. In looking toward the future, the more rapid recent population growth is expected to help drive continued growth in Region 7E in the future. According to the State Demographic Center, Region 7E is expected to gain nearly 20,000 residents from 2025 to 2045, which is an 11.3% increase. By comparison, the state of Minnesota is expected to grow by only 5.5%. By 2045, they project that much of this population growth is expected to happen in older age groups. This table shows population by race in Region 7E. Region 7E's population is less diverse than the state of Minnesota's, and against historical trends, actually became less diverse recently. In 2020, 90.5% of the region's residents reported white alone as their race, and in 2022, 92.3% reported white alone as their race. That compares, as you can see, to 79.8% statewide. At 1.4%, Region 7E had a higher percentage of American Indian or Alaska Natives in the state, but otherwise had much smaller percentages of people of all other race and origin groups, especially Black or African American, Asian, Hispanic, or Latinos. With 6,240 people, the largest racial or ethnic group other than white is people of two or more races, which increased 147% from 2011 to 2022. Conversely, the region saw an 18% decline in the number of American Indian residents. Labor force changes. According to data from the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development's Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program, Region 7E had an annual average labor force count of just under 89,000 workers throughout 2023. The recent increase of the labor force is a rebound from the past few years. After rising rapidly in the early part of the century, labor force slowed after 2010 before again increasing into 2019, as you can see in this figure with the red line of the Region 7E labor force. However, at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the labor force declined precipitously, losing more than 2,000 workers in Region 7E over 2 years. Right now, with a relatively low unemployment rate, the labor market in Region 7E remains similar compared to before the pandemic. We also have information on household incomes. At $80,935, median household incomes were lower in Region 7E than in the state of Minnesota, where the median income in 2022 was $84,313. Just over 30% of the households in the region had incomes below $50,000 a year in 2022. This is similar to the statewide number. Similarly, only 17% of the households in Region 7E earned over $150,000 per year, and that's compared to 22% of the households statewide. Poverty status by race or origin. It should be noted, as you can see in this table, that poverty levels were found to vary widely by race and origin. Of people identifying as white alone in the region, 8% were below the poverty level. 11% of the Asian population and also the some other race alone were below the poverty line. Then about 13% of those identifying as two or more races. Moving up, poverty levels hovered around 22% for Black or African Americans living in Region 7E. And finally, it was estimated that 28% of Hispanic or Latino and over 29% of the region's American Indian population in Region 7E were also below the poverty level in 2022. You can see in this comparison column, the one on the very right-hand side of this visual, Region 7E's overall poverty rate was 8.7%, which was below the statewide rate, which was 9.3%. And lastly, to sum up this picture that we're painting of the residents that live in Region 7E, those that we provide services for, we wanted to let you know about the percentage of students in public schools who are eligible for free and reduced lunch price. That data is commonly used to understand how many school-aged children live in lower income households. For Region 7E, 38.7% of K-12 students receive free and reduced lunches, with Chisago County being the lowest at 25% of the students, and Mille Lacs County the highest at 49.5%. This data source was from the Minnesota Department of Education, student enrollment data for special populations, free and reduced price lunch eligibility. And the rest of the information in this data section was from the Economic Development Region 7E 2024 Regional Profile, updated January 2025, from the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. We thank them for all the information and feel like it really helps us understand the people we're providing services for. Now that we've covered what the arts funding system in Minnesota looks like, and specifically who the people in Region 7E are that the East Central Regional Arts Council provides services for, we're going to turn our attention to our preliminary biennial plan. This is the work plan information from that plan. And the plan is for fiscal years 2026 and 2027. Fiscal year 2026 starts July 1st, 2025, fiscal year 2027 ends June 30th, 2027. First, we're going to cover the priorities. ECRAC has 4 priorities. The first priority number 1, is to provide technical assistance opportunities. arts information services to artists and arts organizations. This includes resources related to inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility in order to provide for previously underserved populations, and we use the acronym IDEA for that, and as needed or requested for professional development training for artists or art organization staff. Strategies are to foster visionary, skilled arts leaders and organizations, and to serve as a clearinghouse of information on better practices and successful programs for artists and organizations providing arts programming. The measurable outcome is people developing art skills or knowledge. ECRAC Priority 2 is to offer grants to artists and to organizations that provide arts activities. The strategies are to provide a portfolio of grants to artists, to skilled arts leaders, and to organizations that provide arts programming and services. Our measurable outcome here is that people develop art skills or knowledge, and people have access to arts experiences. ECRAC Priority 3 is to provide art exhibit space to artists and arts organizations. The strategy is to exhibit regional artists' artwork and to exhibit artwork in Region 7E. The measurable outcome is that people access arts experiences. And you may ask, what is Region 7E's definition of art? And I can tell you that it is very inclusive. From visual art to music, from poetry to theater, from public art and public art murals and sculptures to art in media and videography and photography and, of course, traditional arts. ECRAC Priority 4 is to oversee all aspects of the East Central Regional Arts Council administration. Strategy is to provide an accountable arts organization system and be responsible stewards of public and other funding. The measurable outcome here is the organization provides and develops capacities that advance the arts. ECRAC has a portfolio of grant programs for both artists and organizations. The first one is the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund Legacy Grant for individuals. $2,000 are available. The grant deadlines are October 1st, February 1st, and April 1st. There is a required open to the public event. The review criteria are merit and artistic quality, ability of the applicant to accomplish the project, a demonstrated need for the project, including underserved populations. Eligibility requirements for all individual artist grants are that the applicant must be any individual who is a permanent resident for at least 6 months in one of the 5 counties of Region 7E, and the applicant must be at least 18 years of age. The applicant must be an individual artist and not working on a collaborative project. In addition, artists are limited to 1 active ECRAC grant at a time. The next grant program is Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund Art Project Legacy Grants for organizations. These amounts are $5,000 to $20,000 grants. The deadlines, October 1st, February 1st, and April 1st. The grant review criteria are merit and artistic quality, ability of the applicant to accomplish the project, and a demonstrated need for the project, including underserved populations. Eligibility requirements. They must be an organization, like a 501c3, or unit of government, schools, and nonprofits. Groups of 3 or more can also apply if they use a fiscal agent that is a 501c3 or a unit of government or a school. The next program is Resiliency Grants. This is also funded with Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund dollars. These are up to $600 grants. There is a rolling deadline of July 1st to June 30th each fiscal year. The grant review criteria are merit and artistic quality, ability of the applicant to accomplish the project, and a demonstrated need for the project, including underserved populations. Eligibility requirements: arts organizations or artists that have a need. There is a required open to the public event that can be, at the very least, an accessible online virtual event. Essential Arts, formerly known as the Operating Support Grant for arts organizations, are from $3,000 to $10,000 in Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund legacy funding. The deadline annually is March 1st, and this is for a July 1st to June 30th grant period each year. The review criteria are artistic merit and artistic quality of the arts organization, ability of the arts organization to accomplish stated goals and objectives, and a demonstrated need of the organization, plus an ability to provide service for previously underserved populations. Eligibility requirements are that they have to be a nonprofit 501c3 arts organization located within Region 7E. As part of ECRAC's General Fund grant programs, there's the Small and Art Project Assistance Fund. This is, as I mentioned, funded with the State General Fund and can be supplemented with Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund dollars as needed. The deadlines are October 1st, February 1st, and April 1st. The review criteria are the merit and the artistic quality of the project, the ability of the applicant or organization to accomplish the project, and a demand or need for the grant project or program in the community served, including underserved populations. Eligibility requirements: organizations, units of government, schools, and nonprofits. ECRAC has scholarships for kids that are in kindergarten to 12th grade. These scholarships are up to $600 and are from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. There's a March 1st annual deadline. The review criteria are artistic quality and merit of the proposed project, the students' artist goals, and, as age appropriate, their artistic background. Eligibility requirements: high school, middle school, or elementary school kids intending to enhance their artistic talents. The students must live in one of the Region 7E counties, and if the student is under 18, it's the parent that enters into the grant contract with the Arts Council. Last grant funded with state dollars at the East Central Regional Arts Council is called the Art in Our School Grants. It is $5,000, which comes from the State General Fund, and has Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund supplementation if needed. These grants go to schools in the Region 7E area. The deadlines are October 1st, February 1st, and April 1st. The review criteria are artistic quality and merit, the merit of the residency plan, including the artist or field trip schedule, a community or open to the public component or event, and the ability of the school to accomplish the project. With funding from the McKnight Foundation, ECRAC has available individual artist mid-career grants of $3,600. The grant deadlines are October 1st, February 1st, and April 1st. Grants are reviewed according to the quality of the artist's work, the quality of the proposed project, and the artist's resume. And finally, the last of the grant programs is the Essential Artist Award for professional artists. These are $9,000 awards funded with McKnight Foundation funding. There's an annual March 1st deadline. The review criteria include the artistic quality of the work samples submitted, the merit and feasibility of the plan submitted, and the artist's ability to accomplish. To give you a sense for the number of competitive grants that the Arts Council allocates each year, we put together this slide for you. Keep in mind that applications are reviewed by either a grant review panel or by the East Central Regional Arts Council Board of Directors themselves, with the Board of Directors having the final word on every project that gets funded. The projects are scored and then are funded based on a blind ranking of the scores until the money for all meritorious projects has been funded. In fiscal year 22, there were 48 applications received, 38 grants were awarded. Dollars requested were $329,059, and dollars awarded were $261,762. In fiscal year 23, there were 72 applications received, 59 grants were awarded, dollars requested were $422,773, dollars awarded were $334,883. Fiscal year 24, there were 92 applications received, 78 grants were awarded, dollars requested were $617,574, and dollars awarded in fiscal year 24 were $475,731. And so far in fiscal year 2025, which we are in the middle of, we've had 96 applications submitted as of the March 1st deadline. There are other forms of assistance provided by the East Central Regional Arts Council as well, so I wanted to go over those. This year we are revising grant guidelines and grant applications to continue to make them more accessible. We provide grant writing technical assistance, we have online grant information sessions, we have grant final report, or what we call grant management training. We have a past approved grant application library. And once a grant is funded, we provide assistance with any grant change requests that are needed. We are going to be working on partnering even better with existing providers of services to underrepresented groups and community groups. ECRAC will have a focus on serving underrepresented groups and artists, and we'll be having focus groups for the next needs assessment process. We have workshops for both artists and arts organizations. We have at least 2 art shows per year, including the annual Image Art Show, which had its 37th year in 2024. We have art show display and other equipment rental. We also have a permanent collection of artwork, which can also be rented out to the community. We have reimbursements for Zoom subscriptions for artists, groups of artists, and arts organizations. We have training reimbursements for artists, groups of artists, and arts organizations. We maintain the East Central Regional Arts Council website, and our Essential Arts e-newsletter gets sent out by us. We also have an arts and nonprofit resource library available to all. And if we can't help out with something, we provide referrals to other services or service providers when needed. In addition, there's some new things that the Council will be working on this year or for this biennial plan. So this year or next fiscal year. We're going to be working on rehiring an office and communications coordinator. We haven't had one since fiscal year 2020. We're going to be working on a robust board recruitment and onboarding process to ensure a large, diverse group that understands their roles and responsibilities as an art grant-making organization. We're going to continue to work on inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility, and we'll have a task force to include diverse community members interested in the arts. We are going to continue to provide training on IDEA, also on nonprofit management, and on public art, once again. We are going to continue to provide training to artists in arts business management skills. We're also planning on working on a rebranding project. Thank you for sitting through all of this information. After the information on the arts funding system in Minnesota, and on the demographics and the people of Region 7E, and finally on the priorities, grant programs, and services provided by the East Central Regional Arts Council, I wanted to share this wonderful work of art. This was a sea turtle carved from wood by Thad Christensen. This received the People's Choice Award at Image 2024. The People's Choice Award is where everyone that attends the Image Art Show, they receive a ballot and they vote for their favorite piece of art, which then gets a monetary award from the council. In conclusion, you can visit us in person at the East Central Regional Arts Council office and gallery in Hinckley, Minnesota, which you can see pictured here at the top. My picture is on the left-hand side. I'm Executive Director Mary Minnick Daniels, and on the right-hand side is our Grant Program Officer, Katina Eklund. As always, we welcome any of your questions, your concerns, your thoughts, your input, or even if you want more information, you can go to our website, www.ecrac.org. That's www.ecrac.org, and you can find all of our contact information there. Thanks for listening.